We're back here. Sorry about that. This internet in this building just died. But yeah, we're back here on the DNVR Nuggets DNBA show, talking about last night's win over the Suns, just going over some of our notes. We were talking about Bruce Brown's defense, the rough game from Michael Porter Jr., and then kind of how Bones Highland stepped up to that matchup with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And we were really encouraged about that. But let's hit a break, and then on the other side, we're going to get into some preseason storylines. We're going to tell you guys if we're buying or selling those preseason storylines.
Well, much like our show there, ending just about a third into it, let's talk about the Denver Broncos. Football season is back, and Mile High is ready to see what this new look Broncos team has in store. It's been underwhelming so far, but it could turn around, and whether it's fun or less fun than you hoped, either way, you're going to wish you had one of those delicious Bronco Country beers from Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. We love our friends at Breck Brew, and we want you to try that Broncos Country Pale Ale. It's available in all types of places near you. If you're not sure specifically where, that's what the Breck Beer Locator is for. Google that tool, tell it what kind of beer you're looking for, where you're living. It'll tell you where to go. Love that. Get the beer as fast and conveniently as you can. Make sure you got it just in time to, endure that next Broncos game.
Who do they play next?
I don't know.
Kale, who do the Broncos play next?
The Chargers on Monday Night Football.
Oh, the Chargers.
How do the Broncos... I mean, actually, I know why the Broncos got all these primetime games, because they were supposed to be good.
That's right.
They're playing a primetime game every single week and just getting embarrassed.
That's the thing. They're not going to be able to escape the ridicule.
They're like the Nuggets.
It's terrible. All right. Moving on, the NFL action is in full swing, whether the Broncos are firing on all cylinders or not. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, wants you to know that new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win. They're going to get $200 in free bets if they do. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. I've had some luck with this with the G-Men, who are not a good football team, but they are.
Your New York Giants.
Oh, yeah. They're 4-1, baby. And I built some stepped-up same-game parlays. Daniel Jones under on the passing. Saquon Barkley over on the rushing yards. The more legs you add, the more you can win. And everyone can get in on this with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Download that app now. Use promo code DNVR to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. One more time, let's go DNVR. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the National Football League. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
If you guys could go ahead and drop the questions into the chat that you had dropped right when we started, that would be much appreciated. I think we might have lost them when the stream died. So if you could just type in those same questions that you have, if you remember them, we will circle back and get to those in segment 3.
And lay off Kale. It's not his fault. NBA V-Ball Serbia.
He's just over there drinking a fake liquid death. Just minding his own business.
You guys want to know how hardcore Kale is? He refilled his liquid death can with tap water. That guy. Stay away from that guy. He means trouble.
All right. We're back here on the DNVA show, the DNVR Nuggets podcast. Harrison Wynn and Brendan Vogt. We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR when you sign up and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Let's get into some preseason storylines, Vogt.
I'm into it.
I want to know if you're buying or selling these preseason storylines that we've talked about, that we've written about, maybe some of them that we've come up with and peddled. But let's start off with maybe the biggest storyline of the preseason. The Nuggets have the potential to be a top 5 defense this season. Are you buying or selling that?
I'm selling that. I do not think they're going to be a top 5 defense, but I want to couch this a little bit. I'm buying that they can get the defense to a championship level with regards to how potent they should be on the other end of the floor. I'm buying that they can contain in opportunistic moments, a quarter at a time, a stretch at a time in the playoffs in a way they couldn't with the prior roster makeup. But I have to say, Harrison, we've talked to KCP. I've asked him if there are any winning habits he's seeing around the team already. And he said some, but he mentioned the communication isn't there yet. And I think that you've added the right ingredients is not the same as as cooking the dish. Does that work as an analogy?
Sure.
You got to all put it together
Yeah,
still.
sure.
And so that's going to take a bit. And I wonder if that first third of the season is going to place a real hurdle in top 5.
I'm selling the top 5 defense. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Mike Malone's not right to put that out there as a goal, because you want to be shooting for that. I think they can be a top 10 defense.
Right.
I even think they could be a top 8 defense. I also think they have the personnel. I think this is kind of what you were getting at, where come a fourth quarter,
Sure.
come the last 3 minutes, they can put a 5-man unit on the floor that can get stops against the best offenses.
Right.
And really, that kind of matters more than necessarily your overall defense on the season.
I agree, man.
It's, can you get those stops when it matters in tight games down the stretch? Do you have the personnel?
Right.
Do you have the scheme? Do you have the defensive IQ to do that? And I think with Aaron Gordon, KCP, Bruce Brown, Jamal Murray, I think, is an underrated defender when he's healthy. Nikola Jokic, I think, is an underrated defender as well. You have the makings of a team that can get those types of stops.
I agree. And the conversation, particularly as it pertains to, Bruce Brown closing a game over Porter, for example, defensively, that's the first place you look. I don't know if it's about that needs to be like a predetermined decision even, right? That we know when the game hits this scenario, we go here. But Golden State's a great example, right? They wanted to play Jordan Poole. That was plan A. They got to the finals, and there were stretches of the game where it just made more sense to put Gary Payton out there instead. And I think that's the kind of thing where you've got your plan A, but if you need to adapt, like in a Phoenix series, for example, to have Bruce is a luxury they haven't had. To have KCP is a luxury they haven't had.
Yeah. All right. DeAndre Jordan is leading Zeke Naji in the competition at backup center. Are you buying or selling that?
Buying, selling the other version of it. I want to buy that Zeke is really growing into this potential backup 5, quality backup 4. But we got to see it more. There's been the scrimmages, there's been the preseason games, and it sure looks to me like DeAndre Jordan is ahead of him. And I think Zeke can be a good NBA player, but there's still, not a tenacious enough, I think, rebounder or finisher around the rim to really sell or cut the picture of a center. So could it, by the end of the season, could this be a different discussion, Wind? Yeah, but man, it sure looks like there's some version of a rotation and that Jordan's ahead of him.
Yeah. I'm buying it. I think DeAndre Jordan is ahead of Zeke Naji in this backup center competition, if you want to call it that. I don't know if that's actually what it is, though, because something Michael Malone said last night, I think kind of went under the radar, and I'll get to it in a second, but DeAndre Jordan, I think, has outplayed Zeke Naji so far. I think he's honestly been the better player.
Me too.
Across 3 preseason games. Zeke Naji did not have a great game last night. Michael Malone said he thought last night's game was DeAndre Jordan's best of the preseason. I just think DeAndre Jordan has been the better player. He has. And Zeke, honestly, I feel a little for him because I think he's better at the 4 than the 5.
Me too.
He said in the past the 4 is his favorite position. It's where he feels most comfortable. I think his skill set is better at the 4 than the 5.
Me too.
The Nuggets really seem like they're playing him at the 5 exclusively almost this year. But when it comes to the competition aspect, just because DeAndre Jordan is ahead in this competition, might win this competition, that doesn't mean Zeke Naji is not going to play. There are going to be games this season, I think, where Zeke Naji goes into the game as the backup center and DeAndre Jordan does not. I think there are going to be games when DeAndre Jordan is the backup center and, Zeke Naji doesn't play. But there are going to be matchups, whether it's against more mobile teams, teams with smaller backup 5s, that I think Denver will play Zeke Naji as their backup 5 against. So just if he doesn't win this competition, it doesn't mean that he's out of the rotation completely.
Of course.
There will be games
Of course.
when he's that guy.
But Malone said defensive communication was good from DeAndre Jordan in that last game.
Yeah.
Which he called the best of his 3 showings. And look, I don't know, like, I'm not expecting Jordan to be a stalwart at this point in his career. I'm just not. But all the same, who's the last player you heard that praise for? Like Paul Millsap?
Communication.
Like communication specifically, right? And I think it's something the team
probably Millsap
like kind of lacks. And so whether that's on the court or in practice, off the floor, just a presence, if that's something he's going to provide, that's really beneficial. And those are some of the ways that Jordan can really help this team. Like, he has been around good teams and he has been around bad teams. And like, he's going to know what the winning habits are. So hopefully he's bringing that perspective.
Malone also has shouted out Zeke Najee's voice throughout the preseason too. I think Zeke is definitely being more vocal this year than he was in years past. What about this one? The Michael Porter Jr. stagger with the bench. We saw it last night for a couple of minutes.
We did.
I don't know if it was something or nothing. Look, we know Michael Malone likes to play 5-man bench lineups. He did in the first 2 preseason games pretty much exclusively. Last night, for 2 minutes, Michael Porter Jr. played with the bench at the end of the first quarter. Are you buying or selling that?
I'm going to buy.
Okay.
And I'm going to buy because I think inevitably Malone and company land on that being the way. I don't think it's what Malone really wants to do. Even though he's said as much, that the plan in the past has been to stagger Michael, you know, his trust in Michael is not the first word you'd use. So I don't know if Malone's necessarily champing at the bit to roll that out there, but I think it's the way. I think Porter can get some of those shots up to play more freely to help that bench look a little more dynamic. I think Helio Bones is scary. And like we talked about at the top of the show, most importantly, perhaps, you like the option of Bruce Brown coming in as well and getting some minutes with these guys. So I think eventually, man, they land on that. I think they wanted to last year before the injuries crept in. I'm buying the stagger.
I don't know.
This is naive of me, I know.
I don't know if I'm buying or selling it. I'm selling it as something that's going to become a fixture
in the season.
Yeah, I'm selling it. I think I got to sell it. I got to see it.
Yeah, that's fair.
To buy it. I got to see it before I buy it. We've seen just so many years of how the bench unit runs.
Right. Like, I'm kind of buying against what the market's telling me here based off Malone. But I just don't know if they're going to have a choice. I don't think the 5-man bench lineup is going to work. So we'll see how they work around it one way or another.
All right. Christian Brown could push Davon Reed for a rotation spot. This was something we talked about a lot this preseason. This is something that people had told us to watch out for. The Christian Brown emergence. Are you buying or selling that he could push Davon Reed for a rotation spot?
Christian Brown has had, I think, until the last third of that game, a training camp preseason to forget. I'm still buying it.
I'm
still buying it. First of all, I haven't been blown away by Davon Reed in this preseason.
Have you ever been blown away by Davon Reed?
No. I got to say, man, he has been a different type of vet than I expected. He's kind of more of a tough shot maker.
He's really not even a vet. It's like his third, fourth season in the league.
Not the right word.
25.
Role player is the word I was looking for. You're right.
But he does have this veteran energy about him. He's got this old man personality.
He did have some clutch threes, and he did have 3 steals. That's true. He did play well, relatively well in that last game. But here's the thing. I thought he was going to be a shoo-in Malone guy. And he wasn't.
I don't think he's a Malone guy.
He's not. He very quickly found himself on the outside looking in of that circle of trust. And so Brown, while he has really struggled offensively, maybe got the monkey off his back, hitting some shots. And defensively, man, he really has been solid. He has been. I think at the very least, he pushes Davon. They make each other better throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm buying it. I don't know if it will happen at the beginning of the season. I think it will happen at some point over the first couple of months. I like Davon Reed. He's a nice player. He's dependable. He's solid. He's okay. He's not great. He is what he is.
I like him, and I think if he plays well, he can hang on to this spot. But I think the best case scenario for the Nuggets is their first-round draft pick looking so good, you'd rather play him.
Yeah, imagine Christian Brown just starts to emerge. He's just this defensive weapon you can put out there on certain matchups. He can shoot the ball. Christian Brown just needs more confidence, though.
Yeah, dude, he's in Tyler Lydon levels.
He Tyler Lydon to 3 last night.
Dude, he did, man.
And what we mean by that, for somewhat new viewers of the show, he had a wide open 3 in the corner. His job is to shoot the ball if he gets it open on the 3-point line, and he passed up an open 3. That's what Tyler Lydon did a lot at Summer League, his first and second seasons there. But Christian Brown needs some more confidence. He just needs some more minutes. I think he'll get there, and you could kind of see things clicking and the wheels starting to spin last night.
Me too.
After he got that 3 to fall. So I'm buying in due time.
I like when he attacks the rim. I know that the floater mixed bag in terms of results and success, but I think he is an athlete. He's a legitimate athlete. And so the Lydon thing is important, though, because I think for as funny or not funny, disastrous as the pick was, and as much as Tyler Lydon shouldn't have been picked there, I think the biggest reason it didn't work out is confidence. And I think that happens to players more than we know. And so that 3 he hit from the left corner was huge to get that monkey off his back, to see himself do it. Because this is a capable player. I mean, we're not talking about a stiff, man.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Ish Smith can be a go-to option off the bench. You buying or selling that?
Gonna sell as go-to. Gonna sell. But I'm buying Ish Smith as a nice insurance plan. Mm-hmm. And specifically in how it manifested last night. Bones Highland knocking all the wood. I would love to never mention his ankles again for the rest of his career. But it's on the table. It reared its head last night. And there's no Monte now. There's no Will. Facu was not good in year 2, but he was a guy who put the ball in his hands. So you need someone who can do that. And Ish he's a lifer for a reason, right? He's a pro. Mm-hmm. I'm buying that if you need him to come in and handle the ball, you can survive those minutes.
I think that's a good way to put it. I saw people on Twitter last night saying, "Oh, Ish Smith needs to be in the rotation." Easy.
I would slow down.
Slow your roll a little.
But that's what he's there for.
Right.
That's what he's there for.
I'm selling Ish Smith as a rotation player. I'm buying him as a guy that you can rely on if you need him to step into the rotation for one game.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
He was really good last night.
Dude.
He was really, really good. He ran the offense. He got to his spots. He threw up that ugly-ass jumper where he heaves it over his right shoulder. It's like the right-handed Derek Fisher.
Starts out here.
It's not pretty, but you got to respect him. It goes in.
Those two looked pretty. He had some swag walking into those two, but they haven't had a lot of vets. Ish has a fun perspective of, he seems to know precisely why he's still here, what perspective to hold. But that was a vet who treated that preseason game like a regular season game, and I thought the rookies came in and followed suit. Like, his energy was a big reason why they won that game. Mm-hmm. And that's stuff that Malone dreams about, right?
Yeah.
Come in and just play your ass off, and that can inspire and galvanize collectively.
Ish Smith inspired last night.
Oh, man.
He inspired
really
me. He inspired me to be a better writer last night. A better media member.
Said it on the show. Sorry for repeating. But, yeah, when he blew up that Ayton lob and then somehow made it all the way back out to the corner to contest the 3, like, he was the reason they won that game. So it's at the very least, it's just a nice, safe feeling that he can't hurt us anymore.
It's a much different feeling than having Facu as your third-string point guard.
No kidding. Yeah. No kidding.
Let's hit another break. We'll buy or sell some more storylines on the other side. Also get to your questions as well. What do we got here, Vogt? What do we got?
That's a good question. Oh, have you ever heard of Ivaka TV?
Oh, Ivaka. Tell me about them.
Well, they're the reason we went to Serbia. They sponsored that trip. They didn't just sponsor it, though. They purchased the exclusive rights to our Serbia documentary, and that trailer dropped last night on this show, the pregame show and the post. But it's also now out on social as well. If you haven't seen it, head over to DNVR_Nuggets on Twitter and check it out. And get pumped, because exclusive content like that is going to live on Ivaca. And this is what we mean by the Netflix of Denver sports fandom. You fill it out, you round it out. With the live games themselves, that seems important. Well, you get it with Ivaca. Your favorite coverage of your favorite teams, that's what all of us are doing, right? Well, you get it with that DNVR channel. And then, look, you get something that you don't get in under other bundles. Exclusive content. We want you to see this Serbia doc. We want you to see your Denver Nuggets. So check out ivaca.tv/DNVR and look into it. Consider this option and maybe bypass a year of meth streaming or stream easting the Denver Nuggets.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But seriously, go to the DNVR Nuggets Twitter after the show's over. We dropped the trailer for the Serbian documentary on there. Like Vogt said, only available to watch on Ivaca TV for the first, I don't know. It will only be on there for a little bit. But the trailer's out on the DNVR Nuggets Twitter. Check it out. It got me fired up.
Me too, man.
I get fired up after watching that. Every morning I wake up, have a cup of Athletic Greens, turn on the Serbia trailer, and I'm good to go.
Hey, the truth is, Wind and I were on that trip. We were a part of that trip. We were part of the project itself. But I mean, I haven't been in the editing bay, man. So that trailer was my first look as well into what we've been up to. I'm really, really excited.
That's sick. All right.
Wait, hang on. I got.
We got one more.
There's
One
usually
more. All right.
there's usually 2 reads. Game Time. Game Time is a new ticket app, and it's the best way to hop on some last-second waves for some of your favorite teams. That Denver Nuggets preseason game. Look, there's usually open seats there, but whether it's a preseason game or a high-leverage game, with Game Time, it's worth checking for last-second deals, the best last-second deals on your favorite teams. So if you love DNVR, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support them is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and scored the best seats to all your favorite events. Often, people will add us and say, look, I've got some extra tickets. I wanted to be there tonight.
Yeah.
Something came up. It happens last second. It happens quickly. Game Time is designed so that you can take advantage of that and find yourself in some dream seats at some reasonable prices.
Yeah. All right, and we're back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast, the DNBO show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR when you sign up and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. A couple more storylines I want to ask you about before we get to questions. The starting 5 is going to be a seamless fit when they get on the floor together. This is something that we talked about a lot during training camp. And then as the injuries have popped up, we haven't talked about as much. But are you buying or selling that?
I'm selling, actually.
Wow.
I'm buying their competence. You know, everyone knows I love what this Nuggets team can do. Their chances of doing it this year. But defensively, Wind, I think it's going to take a bit. And I really did. My ears perked up at that KCP comment about communication and how it's not there yet. You know, this team, I think, can get to a different level defensively, but it doesn't happen like that. And there are also, for however hard Malone fought against this, like last year, complacency and bad habits set in on the defensive end. There was an air of futility to the whole thing, whether they wanted to admit it or not, and whether they should have admitted it or not. It's going to take a bit. It's going to take work to get back to that place, particularly defensively. And so I'm so confident in this group, but I do think we'll see relative growing pains in the open.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, but I'm still buying it at the same time. I just think it's a little bit of we haven't seen those 5 play together since the first preseason game, and we've watched 2 games of bits and pieces of the starters. I think when Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jamal Murray get back on the floor together, I think they'll fit together seamlessly again and be very good defensively and even better offensively. I just think that's the way it's going to work out. And I still have full confidence in KCP. I feel like people are down on KCP here.
I'm not surprised, man. I'm not. I could. This was
Is
the
it
most.
because he wears number 5 and is 6'5"
And has a headband.
Yeah.
And started 1 for 8 in his first game. It's perfect. It's beautiful. No, it's because your 5th best starter is inherently your worst starter.
Yeah, and when he's with Jokic, Gordon, Porter, and Jamal Murray.
That's right.
Like top 60 players.
And it'll go around and come around. He'll knock those shots down too. I've liked his process. But listen, man, when he struggles to hit shots, and he's this is not an infallible player, right? It's a role player. He's not a star. Through whatever those stretches are, it's going to feel a bit like he's weighing it down. Every team has to roll a 5th worst player out there with the starting lineup. And whenever you're the first 4 as good as you just pointed out, it's going to feel, you're going to notice it. But where to really rear its head will likely be in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And those will be the moments where we're circling back and remembering why we were so grateful for this move.
Yeah. People were hitting me last night, though. Oh, Bruce Brown needs to start over KCP.
Right.
Chill. KCP, I still think, is the perfect fit at the 2 guard.
I do, too.
For that starting line.
I do, too.
I just do. Nikola Jokic's wrist. No big deal? Are you buying or selling that?
I'm selling the notion that it's nothing, right?
I think we can definitely sell that by now.
It's something. It is something. It seems like it's been something for the last 2 years, more or less, last 2 seasons. Maybe going back to the bubble, on and off, the wrist seems to bother him. It manifests most in jump shooting, particularly the 3-point shot. Having said that, also think that if it's been an issue for the last 2 seasons, it didn't prevent him from winning back-to-back MVPs.
That's a valid point.
So I think he'll be okay, but the wrist is bugging him. No doubt.
It's so weird because we know what bothered him last year. We know there were some games where it was bothering him more than others. But he still managed, like you said, to win back-to-back MVPs with it. So I just have so many questions. Like, is it a pain tolerance thing?
Right.
Does it bother him if it gets hit? And is it fine if it doesn't?
Did it bother him in Eurobasket? Has it lingered the whole way?
Was it lingering over the summer? Did something happen in the OKC game? I don't think it. I don't know. There's a lot we don't know. I think the smart way to look at it is he's going to be able to get through it.
Yes.
Because he's battled through it before. I think last season when he banged it against the 76ers, if you remember that game, he was incredible in the first half, had like 30 points, banged it close to halftime, didn't really shoot in the second half. But he missed 4 games, came back, and went on to win the MVP.
Right.
So if I would have to think it's maybe close to a situation like that, and just some rest can help him out a lot. We saw him work out before the game last night.
He looked fine.
Didn't have anything on his wrist, no brace, no tape, no nothing. Went through a pretty diverse shooting routine where he was shooting all different types of shots. Shot a lot of threes, which he never does in pregame. So it was just a full shooting workout. He was playing one-on-one against Darrell Arthur for like 10, 15 minutes. He looked fine. I saw him grab it a couple of times after jump shots, but it was just a couple. So I am just leaning on the side of a little more rest, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a guy, it's not a lot of off time. He plays, he lifts, he plays for Serbia, he lifts, he comes back to Denver. It's not like really something he's had a lot of time to just let sit there and heal. But I trust fully. We've joked about this before, man. It was in the bubble. He was on the injury report with a sprained right wrist against the Clippers.
2020 playoffs.
And the very next night he was the best player on the floor, and the Nuggets just took him right off the injury report.
Yeah, that was game 3 of the Clippers series.
It'll be like that, I think. I think it'll be something to monitor all year, but ultimately he gets through and plays through.
Yeah. We'll see what happens if he plays Wednesday in LA against the Clippers. Let's hit some questions, Kale. think we've got 7 of them. Beautiful. Grant asks, do you see the Nuggets starting the season off slow with the lack of continuity with Jokic and Murray out? No, I don't. I think they're going to get off to a really good start. They have a pretty favorable schedule. Kind of favorable, depending on what you think of the Lakers. I think they can still get off to a good start as long as, Jokic is playing and healthy.
That's what it's most contingent upon. I think them hitting their ceiling contingent upon everyone, all of that. But as far as surviving whatever factors may contribute to a slow start, that's the Jokic baseline. That's why they almost won 50 games last year. So
Yeah.
I think you have to trust that the aggregate talent is still a better situation, even if there are lumps to iron out.
Opening out at Utah, is that a win?
Yes.
I agree. At Golden State,
No.
I agree. Home versus the Thunder.
I mean, I should be able to just say yes.
Is that the toughest game of the 3?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
That's
but
a win.
It's gonna scare me.
2-1 at Portland.
Yeah,
I think that's a win.
I think that's a win.
3-1 versus the Lakers.
Sure,
ESPN.
at home. Yeah, give me that. Give me Denver. I don't know.
Okay. Then versus Utah, maybe another win. So if they can go 4-2 in those first 6 games, 5-2 in those first 7 games, which I think is very possible, that would constitute a fast start.
Yeah.
I think that's very on the table.
And then they come home for a nice middle stretch of the season, and yeah, I think it could all shape up nice.
Yeah, I think they're going to get off to a fine start. I really do. What do we got next here? NBA B-Ball Serbia. What do you think? Is this good for MPJ
I like
to
this question.
see how it is to be first at the scouting list? Is this refreshing for him? Maybe he understands now that he needs Jokic and Jamal. Because gravity of them and unlocking the game for MPJ, bad example is Jeremy Grant, need to go to the other team to discover that. That's a great point there, NBA B-Ball Serbia. Look, yeah, MPJ was obviously the first option last night. When I was talking about him morphing into Klay Thompson, obviously last night that wasn't the case. He was the number one guy, but I don't think he realized, like, oh shit, I really need them because of last night's game. I hope he eventually maybe goes back and looks at the film and the coaches are preaching that. But it's an interesting point. You would think he would.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to crystallize into that
Yeah.
conclusion, but I do think he appreciates playing with them. And to get, like, you talk about the Clay thing, I think Porter's fine with that. I think he wants to take and make open shots. I don't know if he needs to be a James Harden. So we'll see. I really like his off-ball prowess, and I think he might be, as long as he gets to shoot and score, I don't know if he necessarily needs to be the guy.
Yeah. I think if he's in that Klay Thompson role, Jokic and Murray are vibing, and the Nuggets are winning, everybody's going to be good with that.
Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
I think.
Everyone can eat.
Yeah. Mihailo Stojanovic, do you see Christian Brown being a part of the playoff rotation this season? Great question. We talked about this on the season preview series we just filmed yesterday for Christian Brown.
I mean, it's unlikely for any rookie on
Yeah.
a full-strength Malone team to sneak in there. But listen, the path is that he's a tenacious defender, and I think you could see Malone making room for more tenacious defenders. So I could see it. I wouldn't predict it. I could see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't bank on it. I think it could be on the table, but I think maybe another likely path is that the Nuggets seem to me like they have a trade to make this season. They seem to me like they have 7 guys who are absolutely in their rotation. 8 if you count Jeff Green. They might need just one more guy off the bench that they can really, really trust on the wing, like that. Maybe a guy that can slide between the 2 and the 3 or the 3 and the 4 that is just a 16-game player.
Right.
If they can go out and get a guy like that, I think that's the type of guy they'd be looking for via trade. If they don't get a guy like that, Christian Brown could play himself into it just because he can be that good of a defender, and that's what you need in the playoffs.
Right. But I think look, it's a rookie, and this is a team expecting to contend for a title. If he's not a part of that, it's certainly not like a condemnation.
Right? Yeah, not at all.
Is that a word? Probably not.
Condemnation?
Yeah, like you condemn someone, but I think I just turned it into a different word. Yeah. I'm a writer.
Let's see here. Do you think a bench unit of Ish at point, Bones at shooting guard, then Bruce Green and DJ Zeke can work if Malone doesn't want to stagger?
I'm skeptical, man. I'm skeptical. Like guys who are like Bones, good player, Ish, good player, Bruce, good player, but just how it all comes together, like a 5-man unit. The stagger seems important to me this year.
Offensively, I like that lineup more than the default bench lineup we've been talking about.
I agree.
With Davon in there instead. Because if you have Ish in there, that's another creator. That's another guy who can get into the defense. That's another guy that can make stuff happen. And him and Bones out there can be pretty deadly offensively for a bench unit. But just the lack of size would give me a little pause.
We're also...
The lack of defense in that backcourt with Ish and Bones would give me a little pause.
And even... Look, we just saw a great version of Ish, and I like Ish.
Oh, yeah.
This is still a career 7.6 point per game guy. Like, it's not like a get him on the floor at all costs.
Well, we watched Ish in those first 2 preseason games. He didn't really do anything.
Right. So he's a limited player, but I get why watching last night someone would think to themselves, how do we get this guy on the floor? Because he represented their best chance of winning.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I like that lineup offensively more than the bench unit with Davon.
Me too. But again, if the idea is like, let's up it defensively and we're willing to risk some D, just stagger Michael, in my opinion. So we'll see.
Don't
want
to risk the D. Alyssa asks, do you think Jamal will be somewhat full strength by the Christmas Day game?
I do. I think that's typically around the point of the season where he starts to get his stuff together. I think, as much as you want to be careful of the soft tissue aggravation while returning from an ACL, it has been a very long time. And I think Murray's cleared to play. And barring re-aggravation, he's going to be ready to play at a high level, I think, at that point.
Yeah. I think the Christmas Day game is a great kind of benchmark to shoot for when you can just play Jamal without any like restrictions about his minutes and like worries about back-to-backs and that type of stuff. Oh, he might not play in a back-to-back all season, but I wonder if by Christmas Day you're 30 plus games in by that point. You're just playing him as much as you want every night and not thinking twice about it. This was something that I noticed at practice on Sunday. I don't think we've really talked about it on any show. Jamal Murray had this little hamstring injury, little tweak. It's not even an injury. It's not much.
Right.
In that second preseason game. I got the feeling from how Michael Malone was talking about that injury on Sunday at practice that it was a bit of a wake-up call. And it was a bit of all right, we actually got to be extremely careful with this guy. We've got to really monitor not just how much he plays in games, but also practices. Because in that Sunday practice, Jokic did pretty much everything, but didn't do anything live. He didn't do any of the scrimmaging. Jamal barely did anything in that practice. And I think Denver, after that hamstring tweak, look, this is just me. I don't know if this is the case. This is just the read I got from the tone Malone had when he was talking. I think he kind of took a step back and was like, all right, let's just chill for a second.
Right.
Like let's not have you practice. Let's take it easy. Because look, the most important thing is that this team is fully ready to go by the playoffs. Right now doesn't really matter. It doesn't. So That's just my sense. I just feel like it was a bit of a wake-up call, that little hamstring tweak that he had.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, the thing is, too, prior to that injury, Murray was like the most known commodity almost. Well, Jokic too. But you felt very confident in just throwing Murray at problems as a solution. Oh, we need more minutes? Give him to Jamal.
Yeah.
And it's going to be probably a little different this year.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Nuggets are in LA. They did not practice today. They're probably flying right now to play the Clippers tomorrow. Thanks for your questions, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back from the studios, I think maybe the studio again tomorrow, for the pregame show. Then we'll have the postgame show, hopefully after a Nuggets win over the Clippers. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hit the like button before you head out of here. We'll talk to you tomorrow.